Vesteria finally got the push it needed, with constant update and reworks being pushed out, and also being advertised to newer audiences. And because of this push, the player count grew bigger, and with this new wave of players comes mobile players. So I present to you the best subclasses for Vesteria Mobile. Well, at least in my opinion, you can define best in many different ways. Being tanky, having high DPS, or having huge AoEs. But for this video, we will focus on having high DPS and being easy for mobile players. So how can we really define what's best for mobile? First off, the main disadvantage of mobile players compared to PC players has always been on movement. So, the best way to counteract this problem is to have a class that focuses on casting or a range class. So that throws the warriors out of the window. That leaves us with mages and hunters. Mages have 4 subclasses: Cleric, Warlock, Sorcerer, and Songweaver, with Cleric and Songweavers mostly being supports, which leaves us with Warlocks and Sorcerers. Warlocks are a very sustainable and high DPS subclass of mages, with skills that have lifesteal, such as Desecrate, that creates a circle around the player, dealing damage over time to enemies, and also healing the player if they are missing any health. And Pillage Vitality, a projectile skill. This skill casts 5 projectiles that deal damage to enemies and heal the player's health significantly. Compared to Desecrate, this skill has faster cooldowns and higher healing. Another skill that makes Warlock sustainable is Dark Ritual, which exchanges the player's health for mana. It is because of these skills that makes the Warlock sustainable and makes potions unnecessary. Then, it also has 2 damage focus skills. Blood Plague is a multi-target skill that deals damage over time. Zen Dark Pulse that slowly depletes the player's HP and releases it as a burst damage. And lastly, Chain Binding, which is garbage, so nobody uses it and I don't either. It's garbage. So overall, the Warlock is a very sustainable class. Its skills doesn't only deal lifesteal but also deal massive amounts of DPS. The DPS shown by the test dummies doesn't even do this class justice, as my slot right now at the moment is not currently built. If you wanna see the greatness of this class, go to Vesteria King. His Warlock build video shows just how good this class can really be. And yeah, he's also a mobile main. Now on the other hand are Sorcerers. They are long range, burst damage subclass, and they tend to keep safe distances from their enemies, which means they tend to move a lot, which is the main disadvantage of mobile players. They are also not as sustainable as Warlocks, since they rely on potions for their mana and health. Sorcerers can still be an option for you to play, but they are just not as ideal as Warlocks for mobile players. Now we're done with mages, let's look at the hunters. Now, unlike the mages, which are all range fighters, hunters are like in between warriors and mages. They can be melee fighters or range fighters. Similar to mages, hunters also have 4 classes: Assassin, Tricksters, Bards, and Rangers. Tricksters are mostly PvP focused, with skills such as Prison Traps, Switch Strikes, and Bubble Burst. Skills that focus on trapping enemies, switching places with targets, and slowing enemies. And the movement skill named Disengage that helps with escaping enemies or keeping distance. Next up are Bards. Bards are support-based characters. They focus on giving allies huge buffs with short durations. They are a very combat-active support character. That's why you rarely see any of them being around, cause nobody wants to play support, bruh. Now, Assassins and Rangers. Now, some may argue that Assassin is good for mobile, but good doesn't really mean best. Remember, the main disadvantage of mobile players is movement, and Assassins focus on melee fighting. dual-wielding daggers, rewarding you with high DPS if played well, but punishing you with death if not, since most assassin builds are glass cannons. Which now leaves us with the obvious choice, Rangers. Since most Rangers rely on their stance for damage, this then also splits Ranger into 3 options, since your stance can have 3 varying modes depending on your stats. The first type is the strength variant, Sniper Stance, which has a slow fire rate and high damage. This overall is the worst out of the 3. Next up, the Dexterity variant, Ranger Stance, which has a rapid fire rate. And lastly, the Intelligence variant, Spellslinger. It has a normal fire rate, but every time the arrow hits a target, it explodes with mana bombs, and it becomes your best option when paired with the Ranger passive, Multi-Arrows. This passive makes the player shoot 3 arrows instead of 1, but all 3 arrows share the same damage of 1 arrow. But even though your arrows are weakened, it also makes it so instead of 1 explosion, you get 3. This stance out DPS or out damages the other 2 stances via landslide. And lastly, Arrow Hail, or simply Arrow Rain. When the skill is used, arrows starts to rain down from the sky to the targeted position, dealing damage over time in a circle radius. And yeah, Ricochet, hot garbage. So yeah, in conclusion, there isn't really a single best class for mobile since both Warlock and Ranger are good. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, but both of them also deal high damage to multiple enemies at a time and especially are easy to play on mobile. But in the end, just play what you like.